go ahead and subscribe to the Top G Under 50 G's YouTube channel after watching this video. That channel will be my brand new channel, strictly about women, all things to do with women, understanding women, how to get women, how to behave around women, how to maintain your masculine aura, your alpha aura, right? And we ain't gonna do it corny like none of these other dudes. It's gonna be all things masculinity wise, as far as becoming the best version of yourself, working out, fatherhood, friendships. I'm gonna have a whole bunch of guests, people who I personally know, both men and women. This channel will be bigger than the channel that you're watching me on right now, I promise you. So after this video, subscribe to Top G Under 50 G's.
Let's go.
Wiggle it, 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 wiggle it.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's me, Nate Almighty. And the topic of today's video is I'm going to teach y'all the 7 ways prison teaches more about masculinity than any dating coach on YouTube. And when I say any dating coach on YouTube, I'm talking about those guys. The very most important guys, the guys with the YouTube plaques, millions and billions of views. I'm not going to say any of their names right now. I rock with almost all of them, even though I live a different life and I personally feel like I know more than women about all of them. But I'm going to teach y'all the 7 ways prison teaches more about masculinity than any dating coach on YouTube. Number 1, the dangers of not controlling your emotions. I know some dating coaches speak on this in regards to how it applies to women. But controlling your emotions as a man dictates how you control yourself and how you control what happens to you over the course of your entire life. So the earlier that you learn how to control your emotions, the better, right? Unfortunately for me, I was somebody who had real anger issues, and I frankly used to complain and act like a bitch and overreact about a lot of things until I went to prison, right? When you're in prison, when you display too much emotion, you can put yourself in a position to be fooled. By fooled, that can mean many things. You can put yourself in a position to be extorted. You can put yourself in a position to be in a gang and be manipulated by the people who have authority over you in that gang. If you're very emotional, you will constantly be getting into it and you will constantly be putting yourself in danger, right? So when people say, or when a dating coach tells you, control your emotions in regards to women, you need to remix that in your head and view it as controlling your emotions, period, right? A man being in his emotions, right? Especially with women, but overall in general. A man being too much in his emotions, 9 times out of 10, will result in him having a negative consequence, right? Of being in his emotions and being too much in his emotions. In regards to women, we already know. They start calling you sassy, right? When women do stupid things that women do, you may get too emotional and you may put your hands on that woman, causing yourself to lose your freedom, right? An example for myself, before I move on to number 2, right? I have a thing for going back and dipping and dabbling with my first son's mother. Now, the last time she was here, she had gotten very, very out of control, and I will be detailing me and her situation in regards to me teaching men how to control their emotions even more in the future. But to make a long story short, she was acting in a way where 10 years ago, I would have definitely flipped and went upside that bitch head. But because I am who I am now, right? I realized that I'm in a position now where I'm living on my own. I have everything that I built for myself in my own home, right? And if I flip, all I would do is lose everything that I worked for during the period where I was not dealing with her. We were on our off period. By the way, sidebar, me and her are totally off forever now. And like I said, I'll chronicle those details. But I recently would have lost everything and would not have been in a position to be giving you guys this video right now. But moving on to number 2 of the 7 ways prison teaches more about masculinity than any dating coach on YouTube. The importance of having good hygiene. In prison, I know a lot of people who haven't been to prison, they think of prison as a very, very, very savage place, and it is. But you will be surprised at certain principles that men maintain in prison, especially as a collective, right? And when it comes to having good hygiene, when you are in prison, you can get your ass beat for stinking up the day room. The day room is, let's say you have a living room, right? The day room is the living room for whatever prison quarters that people happen to have to stay in, right? So you will get your ass beat, you get jumped, right? You could get stabbed. Sometimes you'll get beat up, stripped, and forcibly put into the shower, right? And forced to wash your ass. You could literally die from smelling too bad, right? And I don't think dating coaches stress that enough, the importance of hygiene. So when you're dealing with these bitches, when you're dealing with the hugs, right? Brush your teeth. Whenever you're around and you intend on kissing a woman, go ahead, man. Make sure you're chewing on some Starburst, some gum, something that's not going to make your breath stink while you're in the middle of chewing it or when you're done chewing it, right? Go ahead and do what you got to do. Pop that Mentos, do whatever you got to do. Double mint gum, it's only 50 cents. Do what you got to do, right? Number 3, the importance of having a spiritual foundation. Like I said, when you think about prison, a lot of people just think about the savagery. But it's having a spiritual foundation, right, that keeps people from being as savage as they possibly can. The importance of a spiritual foundation, it translates to every other part of a man's life, okay? When you keep God first, right? And I probably only hear maybe Casey Xander speak on putting God first. When you put God first, you'll be forced to discipline yourself in order to evade all the random scandalous women that I like dealing with, because I'm just like that. That's all I know, right? I'm teaching y'all how to get women and have fun, not to get the best quality women all the time. And because the truth is, the most fun you'll have is not going to be with the best quality women all the time. That's why my channel is different from somebody like Casey Xander. But when you keep God first, you'll discipline yourself to the point where you will evade the kinds of women that I prefer to deal with, and you will draw more of the kinds of women that have a spiritual foundation like you, thus making it so you avoid all the extra pitfalls that a person like me, who I'm a black belt in avoiding most pitfalls now, but I had to face those pitfalls first. You totally avoid those pitfalls if you have a spiritual foundation, right? Which will lead to you having more sexual discipline, which I need to have more of. It will lead to you not drinking and drugging, which I tend to do on the weekends. You feel me? But anyways, let's move on to number 4, right? Of the 7 ways prison teaches more about masculinity than any dating coach on YouTube, okay? Number 4, which is the importance of educating yourself. Now, I don't know how many people are aware of it. You probably only know if you are personally close to people who've been to prison. But there's this thing called law library, right? For anybody who's facing a charge, you make some time, and when they give you permission, you go to a library where you strictly spend time learning about the law, right? And that translates to you, and especially if you're dealing with people who have a spiritual foundation, right? These kinds of people in prison will always encourage you to also read books, period, right? My self-improvement journey started back when I was in prison, 18 years old, and I was doing a 1 in 3 bid for gang assault, right? So the first book that I would consider to be a self-improvement book that I read while I was in prison, I was 18 and I was in the box, and I had a black lawyer, right? He told my mother to get me a book called The Autobiography of Malcolm X. After I got the Autobiography of Malcolm X and I read that in the box, I then came across the titles of the 48 Laws of Power, right? The 33 Strategies of War, things like that. I had my mother go buy me those too. So my mother bought me those books, and then she got me Behold the Pale Horse. Those 4 books put me on the trajectory to becoming the person that I am today. Where even though I'm a bit of a hedonist, right? Even though I love having random unnecessary sex sometimes with scandalous women, I do love the bitches. I'm still somebody who has some brains up here. I still have some common sense, right? I still came home and I defeated the recidivism rate, right? I never went back, right? I'm teaching my son to be a better man than I was, and I can already see his trajectory is going in that direction, right? The importance of educating yourself. When you educate yourself outside of prison, you kind of owe it to yourself to let people know the intelligence that you grew while you were in there, right? And it also works when you're dealing with women, and the women that you're dealing with, they understand where you came from and they understand where you're going, right? And you're able to relate to them the kind of intelligence that you received while you were doing your time. But that's number 4. Number 5 of the 7 ways prison teaches more about masculinity than any dating coach on YouTube. The importance of building a strong body, right? Discipline. We already know being jacked, having a big, strong body is synonymous with most people in prison. But a lot of niggas come home and they come home looking like Young Thug, right? Or looking like YFN Lucci, right? Whereas Young Thug came home skinny fat, bird chest, weak arms. YFN Lucci came home just fat, right? These niggas who just sat up eating. But when you work on your body and you develop the discipline, it translates to all other areas of your life, which is one of the things that I'm trying to teach my son right now, and he's slowly starting to understand it, which makes me proud of him, which is having a strong body relates to a strong mind, right? When you develop the discipline of building a strong body, right, you develop the discipline of reading, writing, whatever trade you may be into, whatever art you may be into, right? That'll translate into the way you're dealing with women. Certain things you'll go for, certain things you won't go for, right? And then once you come home, you understand what having a strong body, as well as a strong mind, makes you look in the presence of others, right? Women will always respond and view a man with a big, strong body as somebody who is more masculine and deserving of more respect than somebody who has a frail, weak, skinny, bitch-ass 12-year-old boy body. It's that simple. And now moving on to number 6 of the 7 ways prison teaches more about masculinity than any dating coach on YouTube. The importance of having morals and principles and standing on them. Right? Now, I could go into a whole lot of details, but the first thing I'm going to say is this, right? When you're in prison, you could become the guy who was Big Willie Badass, big gangster, right? You're shooting and killing. You come home. You stand on those same principles, right? You don't let nobody ever play with you. Or you could be Big Willie Badass and you're the one who comes home and you have a prison girlfriend who's a god, right? You're sleeping with men. You telling yourself, hey, I hit him in the butt. He didn't hit me in the butt, so I'm not gay. Yes, you are. Okay, you're a mook. You will lie to yourself about who you are, right? You compromise your morals just because you want to get a nut off. Prison teaches you the importance of standing on morals, even if you're somebody, because if you don't stand on morals, you're somebody who will be getting extorted. You're somebody who you'll be in a gang, right? Being told to do bad things to bad people or something bad gonna happen to you, right? But we keep that short with that. Number 7, right? Of the 7 ways prison teaches more about masculinity than any dating coach on YouTube. The importance of being fearless even when you're afraid. Now, from personal experience, right? This rings true. And it has rang true many times during my prison sentence, right? Where I decided to be someone who stood on principles. I was in a situation where a lot of people in my neighborhood were getting arrested and they were all over the jail that I was in. And I refused to be the person who acted tough outside and then went inside and became a bitch. So there was more times than not where on the inside I felt fear, but on the outside I had to do what I had to do. Some of those things involved hurting people who didn't deserve to be hurt. Some of those things involved me hurting people and jumping to do that faster than I would normally do, because these days I'm somebody who I will always talk to a man and try to work it out as long as that person does not swing on me first. I had to become somewhat of a loose cannon while still maintaining my composure, but picking and choosing when there were times where I have no choice. I had to become that kind of person, right? And even though some of those things I regret, when you're in prison, you learn that you have to be fearless even when you feel fear on the inside. And that translated to who I became outside when I finished my prison sentence. Whereas I'm here talking to you guys now. The difference between me and all the other guys from the hood who haven't advanced in life is because they're afraid to do something different. They're afraid to be different. They're afraid to think about things outside of the box. They're afraid to be shunned from the people who they want validation from, who definitely will not understand them. They're afraid to reach a high vibration. But that was it. These are the 7 ways prison teaches more about masculinity than any dating coach on YouTube. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Peace.